Resume recording. All right, we're recording. So, visualizing strategies. So we're kind of ending the segment on scouting. We're going to learn a bit about strategy, and we're going to learn about how to integrate the scouting into the strategy. And yeah, they're very closely linked. So now that everyone knows what scouting is, we'll start working on strategy. So this is visualizing strategies, and it's pretty good starting point for almost anything relating to strategy because we're going to be using it for the rest of the lessons. So I don't know if you recognize this, but this was on the subteam intro to strategy, and this is a strategy map. And when you saw it earlier, it was a long time ago actually, so you guys probably don't remember, but it was when I was like advertising the strategy subteam and stuff. And I'm sure it probably looked like pretty confusing, like what's going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to be talking about what does this mean? And how can we interpret it? So there's two types of visualization. There's pathing and then there's zones. So pathing is mainly used for, actually let's go to the, yes, so pathing is mainly used for specific paths. That tells you literally nothing. But you can kind of think of it as a line. And so you can, like if a robot is going from point A to B on the field, that is a path. And that can be symbolized by a line. But sometimes the robot isn't going in a direct path. Maybe it's staying in the general area. Maybe it's playing defense. That would be for a zone. And the intent of all of this is to look at patterns in where is the robot going? What is it doing? What is it doing over and over again? Is the robot staying in a specific zone the entire match? Because we can use that in our strategy. Does the robot consistently go on the same path over and over again? That's something we can use into strategy. And that's something we do use in strategy. And so, yeah. And of course, every match, there's going to be occasions where a robot deviates from the path or maybe does something else. But if that's an outlier, that's not a pattern. And so maybe you don't take note of that. And I'll kind of show you what I mean in a little bit. So here's a solid example of pathing and how we would write it. So normally when we do just stuff like this, we like to draw out a picture of a field. In this case, I just stole one off the internet and used Google Drawings to make it. It's pretty easy. But there's another way to draw the fields. I don't know if I can show it. That's gonna be kind of hard to do. Actually, no, I could probably do it and then like put it on camera and show it. I will do that in the future. And so yeah, it's you can see in both of these paths, these are common cycles that a robot could take in infinite recharge. I'm going to turn off Discord. Go to do not disturb because this is very annoying. Anyways, so okay, there should not be any more ping noises. So yeah, it's point A to B. It's pretty straightforward, and a robot that does this type of pathing is likely going to do that the entire match. Just a reminder, a cycle is when you pick up the balls and you shoot the balls, that's one cycle. So you could say that would be going to the path, going down the path and back would be a full cycle, you could say, because it picks up the balls, it shoots the balls, and it goes back to pick up more. So that would be defined as a cycle. And this can be true in other games as well, which I'll show examples of later. So yeah, pathing point A from B, that's the basic thing. And we have zones. So zones are more of general areas that a robot could stay in. They're really great for defense. That's a really big, because oftentimes when you're doing defense, you try to stay in a specific zone that you think would be advantageous. And knowing those zones comes with game analysis, which we'll also be doing in the future. That'll be super fun. And this game analysis uses actually a lot of visuals and stuff, and you'll want to look at where each robot is going and figure out how to interfere with those paths the most. That's a sneak peek of what you guys will be learning about in the future. But for now, we want to know how to interpret these maps. Anyways, I got distracted. So yeah, zones good for defense, but also you'll notice, for example, zone X, we could assume that robot X would be in that zone. And there's a lot of power cells just in that general area. So you could say that robot X is collecting all those power cells over there. That could be an example of a zone. So we're going back to 2019. Here's another example of zones. In the bottom example, you can see it's pathing. So they pick up the hatch from the bottom right corner and they go all the way to the cargo ship in the middle, or the rocket ship at the very bottom. And you can see there's several paths for that, right? But in general, they're staying in a similar area. It's not the exact same path every time. It's slightly different, but they're staying in the same general area. And so a better way to interpret that would be using a zone. And the zone covers all the same area that the paths were in, but it's a lot simpler, it's more effective, and it clogs up the screen less. And then W, for example, that's a pretty good example of a zone, maybe for defense. Because you'll notice that the zone doesn't actually go into where they pick up the hatch panels or where they pick up the cargo. So we can assume that that zone would be defending whichever robot happens to be in that area at that time. All right, so since we only have one person, Pranesh, how familiar are you with the names of all the different parts of the field on Infinite Recharge?
I forgot most of them, to be honest.
Okay. Then you can just try using like visual descriptions. Also, I don't think this part will be in the recording. I might just cut it out because it's more of an activity that's meant for you to like cement.
Okay.
I was hoping that more people would be here, but it's okay. So
okay. So Z is general defense.
Yep.
I'm assuming, well, so Y is a zone, but we can also collect the power cells, I'm assuming, and try to score. And then X is path, it's the pathing thing, so you go directly to the
Yep.
I forgot what the power cells, and I'm assuming Y is simpler because it's a zone.
Yeah, so you're pretty on point. Z is definitely general defense. And we can even go a little bit further and say, where does X shoot from? It only really shoots from one spot.
Shoots from the line.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
Right.
kind of like,
Yeah.
Can you see my cursor right now?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you can see it shoots from right there. And then, yeah, so the purpose of the zone for Y is because the zone symbolizes that usually there's going to be power cells on the field and stuff. And so Y would be picking up those power cells off the field, which you were completely correct about. And you can see also that there's some pathing here because it always shoots over in this area.
And X would have to be a lowbot, right? Because it's going under the.
It would be.
Again.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whereas Y could be a high bot because. Now, we won't talk about this as much yet, but just a sneak peek. I would say this is a very effective strategy because you can look at the pathing in the zones, and there's really not much interference between X, Y, and Z. They're kind of doing their own thing almost, and that's something that you really want. Because for obvious reasons, robots getting in the way of other robots is not going to be ideal. And we'll actually go into, what are you saying?
Yeah, no, so my question was, well, we wouldn't exactly know the paths and zones of other robots, right? So, of our lines. So how would we, I mean, yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah. So the way to know the paths and zones of, so for our alliance at least, what we do is before the match, we will actually map out all the paths and zones that we are going to do in the match. So we can say
Mhm.
like 28-13, we're going to go this way and we're going to do this path. And we
Okay.
can design it. And for the opposing alliance, obviously we can't predict, we can't guarantee that they're going to do a specific zone, but we can look at scouting, especially qualitative scouting. And you can see that, for example, qualitative scouting, one observation that you make is that they shoot from the exact same place every time, and that could be like in the blue trench right here. You can take
Okay.
advantage of that to know exactly where their path is going to be, judging off of their past matches. You can make a prediction.
Okay. And also, the zones. So I know you said the zones and the paths should not intersect, but wouldn't you only be able to do one of them at a time? So would it really matter?
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So remember that it's an alliance of 3 robots.
Right.
So each robot is going to be like, you can visualize this robot going back and forth over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Z is a different robot.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So everything's gonna be going at the same time. But yeah, these are actually some pretty good questions. I might have to put this into recording because these are really good. I'll like edit out part of it. It should be okay.
Okay.
And then I think I actually did make some answer slides about this. But yeah, I already verbalized or verbally said all the stuff. Yeah, so Z plays defense. X just has that path, and Y inflicts power cells from this general area and then shoots them over here.